It is crunch time in the UEFA Champions League. We are down to our final four teams in this competition: PSG, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid. One of these teams will be the champions of Europe. But first, we have to go through the semi final first legs. And I'm going to be predicting everything about these matches, telling you what you need to know, the different things that you may not know, and giving my own thoughts on who's going to go through in the first leg fixtures. So, firstly, I'm going to start with Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. Atletico Madrid hosts Arsenal, and this is a game that I think a lot of people think is going to be boring, but I don't think it will be because I've been watching La Liga a bit. I've also been watching the Premier League, and I can tell you for a fact that the mindset that people have of Atletico Madrid being such a defensive team, I don't think is the same anymore. Atletico have been a bit more attacking recently, and you could see that against teams like Barcelona as well in terms of the goals that they were scoring. Literally, they put four past Barcelona in one half earlier this year. So this is a team that, yes, we've known them to be defensive, but they do score goals and they can score goals and they do score some really good goals as well. So let's talk about how this game is probably going to go. Recently both teams have not been playing as well. Atletico Madrid have not been as great as they should be. Arsenal are probably in their worst spell of form this season, and the fact that they're still first in the Premier League and also still in the semi-finals of the Champions League shows how good they've been this season if this is when they're struggling. So, like I said, both teams are not in good form. I'm going to start with Arsenal. Arsenal have 2 wins in their last 7 matches, which is just unprecedented form. You would expect Arsenal to be doing a lot better based on how they started this season. But even worse, we have Atletico, who have won only 2 of their last 9 games. That is just not good. But looking at it in terms of what's on the line, for Arsenal right now, every game feels like a final, whether in the Premier League or in the Champions League. And then when you look at Atletico Madrid, on the other hand, they are not fighting for anything except the Champions League. In La Liga, they are so far away from Barcelona, at least 20 points behind Barcelona. But also in the Copa del Rey, they got knocked out in the final, losing on penalties. So right now, this is the only competition that they're going for. We've already seen how Atletico have also, dropped some players sometimes when they're preparing for the Champions League. And it's worked so far. It's gotten them to the Final Four for the first time in quite a number of years. So it is working. Now, like I said, they failed to win in La Liga. So I think it's going to be all guns blazing for this match for both teams. Atletico will come in with as much energy as they can. Arsenal would also come in with as much energy as they can. They won over the weekend. Atletico also won over the weekend. So those 2 games in 7 and 2 games in 9, one of those games for both teams came this past weekend. So I think these 2 teams will really push for something. But interestingly, we've already seen these 2 teams play in the Champions League this season, and it was not a good score for Atletico Madrid. Arsenal absolutely wiped the floor with them, beating them 4-0. So, the problem now is, or the difference now is that when you get to the semi-finals of a Champions League, it is not the same thing. You could be one of the best teams and one of the worst teams, and you get to the semi-final of a Champions League, and it's going to be one of the tightest games you could ever play. It's almost like a final. You don't get this far to lose. You don't get this far to play rubbish. You get this far hoping that you're able to get to the final. So, I don't think anybody's thinking to themselves like, oh, we've gotten this far, we've had a good season. No, you want to be in the final. So, I think there's no room for error for both teams. You have to get it right or it's all gone. So for this one, I think the game will actually still be tight. Yes, both teams are not necessarily doing as great as they should be, but they are still solid defensively. But I think this one is going to be tight. I find it really hard to predict both games. I'm not going to even lie to you. But for this particular one, I'm predicting that it's going to be 1-1 draw at the Metropolitano. Now, I could be so wrong. A lot of people I've listened to are predicting that Atletico Madrid will win this game, and I think that's a bit, dismissive of how Arsenal have been this season. Arsenal, yes, they're not playing really well. Atletico also have not really been playing well. But, when you see how much they're focusing on trying to win this Champions League, you could also see that, you'd understand why they'll put everything into it and try and win this game. But I do think that's going to be a draw. Now, I think it's also going to be more interesting if Atletico win because there will be so much more on the line when they go to the Emirates Stadium. But I'm predicting a 1-1 draw for this game. Now, it could go either way, but that's just my prediction for this one. Then PSG against Bayern Munich. This game, to me, could be the final of the Champions League, and I'm going to have so much fun watching it. I think we're watching two of the best teams in Europe in this particular game. Bayern have been so good this season. PSG, we already know what they hold. They're literally the defending champions of the Champions League. So we know how big this game is. Now, both teams play really, really entertaining football, as we saw in the quarterfinals and the round of 16 as well. You know, in the round of 16, we saw Bayern absolutely destroy Atalanta home and away, and we also saw PSG absolutely destroy Chelsea home and away. And in the second leg, we know, in the quarterfinals, we saw what happened with Bayern and Real Madrid. Absolutely entertaining, one of the best games we've seen in such a long time. And PSG absolutely put Liverpool to the sword, 4-0 on aggregate. So these are teams that score goals. These are teams that play really well together. You just see that when they're playing football, it is just very nice on the eyes. So I can't wait for this particular one in general. I'm not even going to lie to you. Now, Bayern are in crazy good form. They've won 15 of their last 16 games, and the one game that they didn't win was a draw. Now, they're also unbeaten in their last 19, and they've won 9 games in a row. And in those 9 games in a row that they've just won, they have scored 32 goals. Like, this is a scoring machine as well, you know. Now, so far this season, they've only had 2 losses in general. Only 2 losses in how many games? It shows how good they've been this season. But interestingly, one of those losses came against Arsenal, who are on the other side of the bracket. So maybe Bayern may want to see if they can get a rematch against Arsenal and prove that they are much better than they were in that particular game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. PSG are also a really good team. Now, PSG, like I said, or PSG, they are having quite a mixed season. It's not been as great as last season. Last season, remember that they didn't start well, but they finished really well. And in this season, I feel like we're seeing almost the same thing. But it's not been so easy for them in League One. You know, they still have sort of a title race there, although I still think they're going to win the title. But it's not as, you know, easy to tell as it was seasons ago or last season, or what you would expect from League One in general. But like I said, they've not been that dominant, but they're still a very dangerous side, and you cannot take them for granted. This is a team that literally won the Champions League last season, and they're in the semi-finals this season, so they're not coming here to joke around. They would love to retain their title. And like I said, they're defending champions, so they're 2 games away from a possible final, possible defense of their title, so they're not going to be here to play around. But in this fixture, history favors Bayern Munich. They've won the last 7 of the 9 matches that they've had in the Champions League. Bayern Munich are definitely the side who have history on their side. But this may be the best PSG we've seen in a long time. All these matches happened before we saw PSG play this well last season. This is a PSG side that also beats Inter Milan 5-0 in a UCL final. That is unprecedented stuff. That's what you do not expect to see. A 5-0 win in a Champions League final. We're talking about a team that can be good on its day. Yes, it's not been as great as last season, but they picked up towards the end of last season, and it seems like that's what they're doing as well right now. So when you look at it, they've also won 8 of their last 9 matches. 8 of their last 9 matches. That is also really, really good form. But for this game, I think one of the most important things we have to notice is that Vincent Kompany will not be on the touchline because he's suspended for this game. So is that going to be an advantage for PSG? Is that going to be a disadvantage for Bayern? Is it really going to affect how Bayern play? Because obviously you would like to have your head coach standing right on the touchline instructing you for different things. But I don't think it's going to be the biggest problem because the players on the field are amazing. We're talking about Bayern Munich having probably the best striker in the world right now, Harry Kane. On the left, you have Luis Diaz. On the right, you have Michael Olise, who is just playing some amazing football this season. And then you have Musiala, who's back from his injury and scoring goals as well. So it's a team that's really packed in front. And you also have good players in midfield, Kimmich, Pavlovic, and at the back you have Upamecano, you have a goalkeeper like Manuel Neuer who is really, really good on his day. And then on the other side you have PSG who literally have the Ballon d'Or winner there. They have Kvaratskhelia, probably one of the best left wingers in the world right now. And on the other side you have Barcola, you have in midfield Vitinha, João Neves. This is a team that is so good. So I'm just looking at 2 heavyweight teams coming to clash in this game, and honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you, predicting this game, I feel like predicting this game is going to be very, very difficult. I think if you give people, if there are 10 people who are going to predict this game, probably 9 of them will get it wrong. So if I get my prediction right, I'll be shocked, but I'll be also really proud of myself. So for this one, I'm going for. I've seen a lot of people also predict PSG winning, but for this game, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I've seen that both of their defenses can be quite porous and open, so I'm thinking to myself, like, this one is going to be an interesting one in terms of the goals that will be scored, because these two teams know how to score goals, and they also do have defenses that are not as great as you think they will be. So I'm predicting a 2-2 draw for this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you like the video if you've gotten this far. Share with a friend who may like this kind of content, and please subscribe. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, I guess, because as of the time I'm recording this, I'm on 499. So if I'm still there, or if I've gotten past 500, I'll really appreciate if you watching right now could subscribe to the channel. There's always going to be more football content for you. Thank you so much for watching this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.